Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Jaded Blossom has a brand new magical release for September. Jaded Blossom's September 2025 release is now available, and there are so many fun products. And if you are interested, I do have links in the description box below. I'll start by showing you the freebie stencil. This one's called Magic Swirl. This is currently not available for purchase, but it is the freebie you'll receive if you purchase at least $50 worth of product, and one item must be from the new release. This is for a limited time and while supplies last. There's another stencil that's part of the September release. This one's called Lightning. Both stencil sets are single one-layer pieces, but they're perfect for creating some fun backgrounds. Now moving on to the new gnome add-on set called Wizard. This set is so much fun, and it is a really large set. Not a lot of small pieces, more large die pieces. So I'll pull everything out of the bag so you can see what's included. I love that Jaded Blossom's newer dies no longer require snipping. Makes it really quick and easy. With this set, you can create a large wizard, also a smaller wizard, or just a smaller gnome. And you may notice there are new hair and face options that include the ears. There are also some magic wands, an owl, there's a scarf, the new hat. There's even a pair of glasses for the gnomes. And looking at this front sheet again, you may recognize some of the images are very similar to the popular Wizard School. Next up is a new gnome friend, and there are two new gnome friends in this release, and I love both of them. The first friend is an owl. So there's the die set and also the stamp set that has the owl faces. You can create the face using the dies, but it's so fun to have the stamp set as well. Lots more expressions with this stamp set. The next gnome friend is a dragon, and this dragon is super cute, not scary at all. So we have the dies for the dragon, and there's also a stamp set with the dragon faces. And just like the owl, the die set does have pieces for the face, but it's always fun to have more options with the stamp set. So here's a look at all of the dies for the dragon, and there are two different head options. You could have a little horn on top, you could have the little curly horns on the side. There are also two different options of wings, a few different options for the hands or paws. Not really sure if a dragon would have paws, but I love that Jaded Blossom includes all those different options. And I didn't mention it for the owl, but there are also different options for the wings and the feet. Next up is a stamp set called Halloween Gnome Faces. Since technically September is usually Jaded Blossom's Halloween release, they wanted to include a fun stamp set so you can add these faces on different gnomes and probably some of the gnome friends. And then finally we have the sentiment stamp set called Stay Magical, and there are coordinating outline dies. Lots of really fun sentiments that go with the wizard, the owl, and the dragon sets. So that's everything that's included in the September release, and if you're interested, I do have links in the description box below. For a couple of my cards, I'm using pattern paper from Craft Consortium. It's their Ink Drops Dusk collection. I thought it would make a beautiful background for the dragons. I selected one design that's mostly blue and brown. It has an alcohol ink look to it with a hint of glitter, but this is pattern paper, so there's no glitter on it. I cut the piece to 4 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch. I'm layering it on some dark brown cardstock. And the brown cardstock piece is A2 size. 4¼ inches by 5½ inches. I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. To help the image stand out against the background, I'll be adding it on an oval die cut. The stitched oval die and the scallop oval die are both from Jaded Blossom. For the oval die, I use some really unique paper. It's banana paper. It's a light cream color, and there's a mix of different colored fibers in the paper. My younger sister used to make beautiful books and journals, and she would use this banana paper. She recently passed away, and I came across a ream of the banana paper, so I'm trying to incorporate it in my cards in memory of my sister. So this card will feature one of the dragons. I'm making a blue dragon to match with the pattern paper. For the very background piece, I use white cardstock since this will all be covered up. Then I have 3 different shades of blue cardstock. And I just grabbed some scrap cardstock pieces from my stash. For the little spines on the tail, I use some silver pearlescent cardstock. And there's an individual tail piece, so when you glue the two together, you'll still be able to see the spines on that tail. For the dragon, I like to start with the body. So there's the one piece that has the body and the tail. I use the lightest blue cardstock for that piece, and then the body and the individual tail pieces, I use that same light blue cardstock. For the background head piece, and this will all be covered up, I use the same light blue cardstock. I've already stamped the face and colored the eyes. I use a white gel pen for the white area and a Copic marker for the brown. I'll put glue on the back, adhere the face piece down. There are 2 pieces for the arms. One has the little claws and the other doesn't. I used the same silver pearlescent cardstock piece for that background, so the claws will be the pearlescent. The die set also includes a piece that will cut out the individual claws, so I think they're a little bit longer than just this little background piece, so that is an option. I decided not to use it. For the top 2 areas and the sides of the dragon's face, I used a dark blue cardstock. And you can see as I add these pieces down, it covers up that background piece. So you can use any color you want, just focus on the top areas if you're short on certain cardstock colors. For the dragon's belly and wings, I use a platinum mirror cardstock, so super shiny, and it has just that hint of a brown color. For the dragon's feet, legs, and also those front arms, I use a slightly darker blue cardstock color. I'll adhere the first leg down. On the left leg, technically the dragon's right. Before adhering it down, I'll add a scrap piece of cardstock on that white area, and that will keep it at the same level. Now we'll add those final little ruffle pieces on the side of the dragon's head. Not sure if they're the ears or maybe more wings on the dragon. I also cut out this larger piece that has that little ruffle edge. The very ends of those pieces, you could add the adhesive and glue it behind, or you can just cut out the smaller pieces and adhere them on that background outline piece like I did for the dragon. For the dragon's horn, I'll also add that scrap piece of cardstock down first, and I cut the horn out of some silver holographic paper so it has this beautiful sparkle. Then I'll put Barely Art glue on the back, adhere it down. The wings are designed to be adhered on the back of the dragon. There are also individual wings, so you can place them differently. I'm using just the one piece, and to adhere it down, I'll first add a strip of clear double-sided adhesive tape. Then I'll place the dragon on top so I can get the placement correct. And then just to help make sure those wings stay in place, I'll add more tape on the back side. So the dragon is just about finished. Another option are the claws you can add on the feet. So there's one die that'll cut out all 6. To keep them in the same order as the die, I placed them on some mint tape from scrapbook.com. And I also kept all the die cut pieces in the small stack and sort tray from scrapbook.com, so I didn't lose them. One by one, I'll glue down each of the claws. And I know you can't see it in the video, but in the center of each of the claws, there's a little embossed or debossed detail, and it's in the shape of a heart. I love how Jaded Blossom includes those tiny little details to their dies and stamp sets. So there are all the claws. Then the final step will be to add the arms. And you can just have the arms in front, or you can have your dragon hold something. I decided this dragon would hold a red heart. And the die set I used for the heart is the original Embellishment Cluster set. So first I'll attach the heart, then I'll add each of the arms down, making sure the end area goes against the side of the body. So there is the little dragon all assembled. I think he is absolutely adorable. And I'll be adding him right inside the oval. For a sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out. Wishing you a dragon-tastic birthday. I used brown ink on some light tan cardstock, and I did pop it up with foam dimension. I'll remove the release paper, add the sentiment at the bottom of the oval, and I'll also pop up the dragon with foam dimension. The foam I use behind the dragon is scrapbook.com's small foam squares in the 1mm thickness. After removing the release paper, I'll add the dragon right on top of the sentiment. For a little extra detail on the dragon, I'll use a white gel pen, add highlights on the little ear or wing areas, the heart, the tail, and the legs. And for embellishments, I'm adding some reflection dewdrops, and these are from Honeybee Stamps. There are, I think, 4 different sizes in this set, and they have an iridescent finish, so I think that adds a lovely detail to this card to go along with the magical dragon. I'll put 3 in the upper right-hand corner and 2 in the lower left-hand corner. They don't have adhesive, so first I'll add a small drop of Barely Art glue, and I'll pick those up using the wax tip end of scrapbook.com's Craft Pro Pick tool. I poured out a small amount of the drops in a wooden bowl, makes it easier to select the different sizes. So there is my finished card. I did make a second very similar. For the second card, I didn't add the claws on the feet. So you can see the comparison and decide if you want the claws or if you don't want the claws. I think both options are really cute. And of course, I had to make a pink dragon. I used the same pattern paper, this time pink brown with that little hint of gold glitter look. I used a different stamped face. And I forgot to show it earlier in the video, but Jaded Blossom also released their new MDF pieces for the dragon, owl, and both wizards. The dragon has the MDF pieces with the stand. The owl has both the stand and the hang tag ring. And then the wizards just have the option of the stand. I have one more card featuring a green dragon. I used the Magic Swirl stencil behind the dragon, and for the background of the card, I used Jaded Blossom's diagonal card matte die with some Doodlebug design, petite print paper, and white shimmer cardstock. For the green dragon, I also used the die cut pieces for the face instead of the stamped face. The green dragon and the pink dragon MDF piece also feature the different dragon face. They have the side horns. Now moving on to the owl friend. For the card, the paper I'm using is an older retired collection from Doodlebug Design. This is Flea Market and it was released in 2016. I only have a little bit left, so I'm trying to finish it off. I used Jaded Blossom's card matte die set for the very background piece and the clouds, so it adds this lovely faux stitch detail. I'll layer both of those on some dark brown cardstock. And for the pieces that do have that faux stitch detail, I'm using a little extra adhesive. Sometimes the stitch dies warp the paper just slightly, so having both the ATG tape and Barely Art glue will help it lay nice and flat. I'll also place a large acrylic block on top for some added weight while the glue dries. For the background piece, I'm adding a strip of colorful plaid, putting it on the left side. And this plaid piece is 1 3/4 of an inch by about 5 1/4 of an inch. Instead of layering it on brown cardstock, I'll add a little bit of shine using some Love from Lizzie peel-offs. This is the pinstripe style in teal mirror. I'm using the widest width. And I don't need to add a strip all the way down. I can leave a gap area since I'll be covering it up with the cloud pattern paper piece. If you saw when I showed the side of this pattern paper piece, you can see the two edges had a warped finish. So I want those to lay nice and flat. Instead of just the ATG and Barely Art glue, this time I'll put a wider strip of clear double-sided adhesive tape just on the right and left side. There really doesn't seem to be an issue with the top and bottom. I'll remove the release paper, put ATG tape around the rest of the edge, and then also Barely Art glue along the edges. I'll layer this piece on dark brown cardstock, then place a couple of large acrylic blocks on top, and I did let those sit for a few minutes, so now it'll lay nice and flat. I'll put more adhesive on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. Now I'll add the cloud square piece, the glue on the back, adhere it on the left side of the card. And this is where I'll be adding the owl image. After adhering down the cloud piece, I'll set aside the card so I can assemble the owl, and I will place a large acrylic block on top. Never hurts to let that sit even longer with some extra weight. I've already die cut out all the pieces for the owl, and I'll be adding the sentiment owl post. For the very background of the owl, and this will all be covered up, I use white cardstock, but you can use any scrap cardstock you have. I'm using 4 different shades of brown cardstock for my owl. The lightest shade is the owl's chest area, the darkest is the wings and the brow. For the head, sort of a reddish brown cardstock, and then a slightly darker tan cardstock for the face. The die set includes a few different options for the wings. You can have the wings at the side, you can have them holding something, and then the other option is the set I'm using where they're stretched out to look like the owl is flying. Now, unlike the dragon, there isn't one piece that goes behind the back, but there is a slight area where you can add adhesive and then attach the wings. And just to make sure those stay in place, I'll also put that clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back. The owl has far less pieces than the dragon, and it'll be even less if you use the stamped face. I'm using the die cut pieces for the face for this owl. I use white cardstock for the main eye. And then there's the stitched iris piece. Decided to go with some green cardstock. And this green color does match the leaves on the pattern paper. For the pupil of the eye, I use black cardstock. And it does cut out a small circle area to add that highlight, and I use white cardstock for the highlight. So first I'll add the large white eye piece, then I'll add the green iris. Next I'll add the black pupil piece. And I'm putting the little highlights toward the top. For those white highlight areas, I'll add just a tiny drop of glue, pick it up using the wax tip end of the Pro Pick tool, and inlay those white highlight areas. For the owl's beak and also the feet, I use orange cardstock. I'll add a small drop of glue and attach the beak. There are two different feet options on the die set. I'm using the set that looks like it's either holding something or maybe standing. There's also a set that shows the bottom of the feet if you want your owl sitting. And just like on the claws of the dragon, the bottom of the owl's feet have a teeny tiny little heart. With the sentiment owl post, I thought it would be appropriate for the owl to be flying carrying a letter. The letter dies are from Jaded Blossom's Wheelbarrow die set. It's the Love Mail add-on. I used a darker teal color for the envelope and a yellow for the heart. And the small heart image is also included on the Wheelbarrow Love Mail add-on die set. Once I have the letter all assembled, I'll put glue on the back side of the owl's feet, attach the letter, and I'll flip it over, add some double-sided adhesive tape to make sure those stay together. I'll remove the release paper and I will pop it up using foam dimension. I use both the small and large foam squares from scrapbook.com in the 1mm thickness. After removing the release paper, I'll add the owl on the cloud panel. And I'm putting the owl at a slight angle to look like he's flying. With fall right around the corner, these colors make me so happy. For the sentiment, I used the outline die and cut out another piece from brown cardstock, offset it slightly so you can see just a peek of that brown underneath the sentiment. Helps it stand out against the background. And I did pop it up using more foam. I'll put the sentiment in the lower right-hand corner. And for a little extra detail, I'll add 2 more hearts on the left side of the sentiment. The same dark teal and yellow colors I use for the mail. For a final finishing touch, I'm using a white gel pen, adding highlights on the hearts and also the owl. So there is my finished card. I did make 2 using this design. I love this owl. He's so cute. And I did use both of the owl MDF pieces. The first one has the hang tag ring. I made a white owl, added a little bit of gray ink along the edge so it's not completely white. The white owl also has the wings at the side and the feet so it looks like it's sitting. And then my final owl on the MDF piece with the stand is a pink owl. And she has the wings that are in front, so I could have her holding an object or just the wings. And for both of the MDF owls, I did use the owl face stamp set. Now here's another look at the cards I made using most of the products in Jaded Blossom's September 2025 release. You may have noticed I have not made any cards featuring the Gnome Wizard add-on set. I decided I would do a second video since this one's already around 25 minutes. With all the new images, I like to show how to assemble them, and I think this video would have ended up over an hour long. So I'm splitting it in 2. Stay tuned for part 2, which will be coming very soon. But I do want to show a sneak peek of a few characters from that famous wizard school. And in my part 2 video, I'll also show other ways you can use these images. They don't have to be just the characters from the wizard school. If you are interested in Jaded Blossom's September release, I do have links in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.